Hello everybody, this is Brent from BrentShavnore.com. Today I'm going to show you how I restore my historical photos and bring them back to life by adding color in Photoshop. The first thing we want to do is make sure our photo is in RGB, not grayscale. After I do this, we want to save it and go into Lightroom. In Lightroom, I'm going to reduce the highlights, I'm going to raise the shadows, I'm going to give some exposure, give some contrast. I'm going to make the image pop a little better. Fortunately, in 1942, the cameras weren't as good as they were today. However, we do have image manipulation techniques that can make that photo pop. I'm going to use sharpening to sharpen the photo. Be careful of this because there are film artifacts that you will sharpen. So make sure you use your masking to kind of smoothen that out. You hold Alt and click masking, and that will let you select only things that you want to sharpen. Luminance, get rid of some of that film grain, add some clarity to separate our whites and blacks to give it a little bit more pop, and that should do it. From there, we just right click on the image, go to Edit in Photoshop. The first step in Photoshop is going to be grab that quick selection tool, click on the first object that you want to start adding color to, go down to your layer mask panel, add a new layer mask. I use my color palette to pick the color that I want. This is where your artistic mode has to come in. You have to make an artistic judgment on what color each subject is going to be. On this photo, I'm going to choose green. Now comes the fun part. We want to use a brush and then literally paint within the lines. It's like coloring in a coloring book. I'm going to paint around each object ever so slowly and carefully. This is a long process, but you got to do it if you want it to look right. You're probably thinking, wow, that's just a blob of green. Well, guess what? We're going to use our blending modes. Go to your blending mode and switch it to overlay. And then voila. You want to run along those edges, make sure you get nice and clean with the color. Now I'm going to speed this up because you do not want to watch this process in real time. But I'm constantly choosing my color selector and changing the colors and zooming out. Black is hide and white is reveal. After you get a kind of a cluster of colors done, like in this case the helmets, what I like to do is zoom out, go back to my color picker, and then choose a little bit more of an accurate color. It's always good to zoom out to see the better perspective. See, I want them faded a little bit more. Now that we have all the helmets done, let's go to our next part, which will be the uniforms. So same process, click the quick selection tool, click the area that you want to color in, which is going to be the uniform. We are going to do a new solid color mask. Uniforms are going to kind of be a light tan color. For now, I'll probably change it 1,000 times over the course of this video. Just start painting the uniforms in. So what I do is I just put some music on, zone out, and just start coloring things in. Another selection tool we can use for our straight lines is the lasso tool. It's very good because you can create a selection, then just hit backspace, it'll fill it in the color that you need. But on this image, I'm not really going to use it that much because there's not very many straight lines. I'll use it for the straps, and that's about it. Now I have two colors to choose from, so I can just click each palette or each layer and just color in what I want to be green or tan. I'm not going to use that many colors for the purposes of this tutorial, just to kind of speed things along. But the more colors you use, the more realistic the photo will look. You have to take things into consideration like light. If it's sunset, the light's going to hit the uniform's going to be a different color than tan. It's going to have a golden glow to it. You're going to have a golden glow on top of the green helmets. If it's a hazy day, there aren't going to be any shadows. Everything's going to kind of be neutral colored. So I cut out the sky. I'm going to take a real photograph and then blur it in the sky. I always change the skies out. I have another YouTube tutorial teaching you how to do that. Check it out. Because there is absolutely no detail in the sky. And I'm going to bring my own in. There it is. Lasso tool to get a kind of a clean cut. Always go along those edges with that brush, making it black and white. Swapping between the two, raising the opacity, lowering the opacity to make sure you get a nice smooth blended. And because you're essentially making masks around each selection, you can always go back and change the color of each mask. Like right now, I'm not really happy with the blue of the boat, but it doesn't matter because when I'm done with it, I can go back and double click the palette and change the color at any time. It's a good idea to label each mask. I'm an organized person, so I know where each mask is, but for people that have a hard time organizing themselves, it's good to label each layer so you know you can just click on it and change the color. I just know where it's at for some weird reason, so I don't have any labeling. It's just an unnecessary step for me. I'm weird. But it's honestly, when you get the flow of this, it's pretty therapeutic just going in and coloring. It reminds me of coloring as a kid. Just coloring within the lines, only your lines are what you want to make them. Alright, so after I've completely colored everything in, I'm going to save the photo and take it into Lightroom again. In Lightroom, this is where the magic happens. Now that we have color, we have a colorized photo and we can edit a little bit more elegantly. So once again, I'm going to take the highlights down. I'm going to boost the shadows a little bit, give it a little bit of higher white point, give it some more clarity. I'm going to sharpen it again. I'm going to split tone it. Split toning is cool because it gives it a little bit more color. Things that are darker, you can pump blue into it. That's increasing the shadow saturation. All of your highlights, you can pump color into those too, and it gives it a little bit more separation. What I like doing is giving depth of field. So I take a radial filter, I put it around my subject, I take the sharpness all the way down, so anything outside that radial filter is going to be blurred. I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to brush out all of my gentlemen inside the boat, because I don't want them to be blurred, but I want that background to be blurred. And I'm happy with how that looks. If you enjoyed this tutorial, follow me on Instagram and subscribe. I will have more coming. Thank you.